This is TWiT.
Deidre O'Brien has the, I wonder, she might be thinking, I wish I didn't have to do this.
Yes.
Or maybe she's digging it. Watching companies like Starbucks, Amazon fight unions and still get unionized, it's sending a shiver down the spine of Apple, I'm thinking. They don't want to be unionized. They've actually hired a well-known anti-union law firm to come in to support them, to help them in preventing this. There are already dates and union drives at 3 of Apple's retail stores, New York, Maryland, and Georgia. Maryland and Georgia have set dates to hold elections. June 2nd, workers in the Cumberland Mall Apple store will vote. Apple's Towson Center store in Maryland do that on June 15th. So a video has been sent, and this is what companies do. They have mandatory meetings, not illegal. All the employees come in kind of like an all hands in the store, and they play this video from Deidre O'Brien in which she says, Apple moves incredibly fast. It's one thing I love about our work in retail. It means we need to be able to move fast too. And I worry because the union will bring its own legally mandated rules that will determine how we work through issues that could make it harder for us to act swiftly to address the things you raise. I'm committed to and proud of our ability to act fast and support our teams to support you, but I don't know if we could have moved as quickly under a collective bargaining agreement. It could limit our ability to make widespread changes to improve your experience. And I think that's what's at stake here. Apple also put their money where their mouth is, raising the minimum wage from $20 to $22 an hour. So it's pretty good pay.
Yeah. Gosh, I guess they were planning to do that all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is why it's important that employees at least try to unionize, because guess what? It turns out that Apple could afford to give everybody a minimum $2 raise all along. But I guess they were planning to do that anyway, and just serendipitously, this was since I've got your ear anyway and telling you not to join a union. This is exactly. It was the pressure that was put upon them, and oddly enough, it's this kind of response that kind of represents why unions are very, very important, because otherwise a corporation can basically take a paternal attitude towards their workers, saying,
we know what's best.
Children,
we know what's best.
We don't want you to do something foolish that'll just ruin your life. We're looking out for you. We like the system where you ask us for things, and based on our own whims, we either say no or we say we think about it. And this is. I don't blame Apple for doing this. They are, again, a $2 trillion company. That's whenever I say that a lot, but only because a lot of people have this idea of 2 hippies in a garage who just want to change the world, and that was actually, there was just one of those people were actual hippies, as we find out. But a $2 trillion company is probably always going to react to unionization of their hourly wage employees with trying to slap that down as hard as they can without actually hiring Pinkerton men to storm each store. So as you say, this week, I think on the 2nd, the Maryland store is voting, and then on the middle of June is when the Georgia store is voting. They have to file with the NLRB, so you can actually track that sort of stuff and see what's going on. I mean, but remember that this was the same company that basically was telling all their employees, by the way, after you clock out, you're going to have to hang around for a half hour while our store security examines your backpack, examines your bag to make sure you're not shoplifting from us. And by the way, you're not being paid for that for the time you're waiting for that security sweep to come over. Again, you need to have you need to be able to return the fire against your employers, or else you have absolutely no ability to resist when they do stupid things.
Georgia, you wanted to say something?
It's one of these things where, these are huge companies that you really can't go against. But when people unionize, you become this huge company that's able to deal with it. And let's just say it, like $22 an hour doesn't even hit inflation. That would be $25 an hour plus. And so Apple knows that if there's unfortunately, the US is so far behind with leave, sick days, maternity, paternity sets. being able to take days off, being able to have your own legal representative to be able to deal with these companies. HR works for the company. They don't work for you. So you have no recourse. And they, especially huge companies that make all of these profits and want to keep their shareholders happy, they don't want people to be able to have the power to unionize. And it seems ridiculous that anyone would not say yes to this. And companies try to say, oh, they're going to take your money. And you can even hear by Apple's approaches that we'll be faster. They don't say that this will be better for you, but they really say that, oh, we'll be faster. Yeah, it'll be definitely quicker for them to be able to say no to everything that you ask and to not have to raise things. But it's not going to be better for you. And yeah, it takes more time. If you get a legal representative every time you get to go see management, they're going to be much more careful because HR works for the company to make sure that the company is protected. Their legal team is making sure that the company is protected. You don't have any protections at all, and the laws and regulations that are in state are just so very archaic. It's really sad to see, out of all developed nations, to see where the U.S. right now is in being able to protect just the regular middle class worker. And the protections are just so very sad, like that people, can't even spend time with, their newborn baby or premature. Like it's ridiculous. Whereas most parts of the world that are developed countries have a year plus, 6 months to, in most places have a year to 2 years plus that you can stay home with your baby, which companies are able to swallow and governments are being able to protect. So I really hope that they end up unionizing. And I hope that most people that are working there are going to be able to fight for their own rights so that people can eat and stay home and be able to take care of yourself. Because let's just say it, the companies are not going to be there to be able to take care of you if you're sick. They don't care. You're not, any company that says that you are family, that just says that we are going to be abusing you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And a very quick statement. This isn't a vague sort of notion. Being a member of the union in the United States, if you're a member of the union, you have real and authoritative protections if you decide to take action against your employer. If a store decided to, if they're unionized and they went by the numbers and staged a walkout, Apple cannot just simply say, "Great, you're all fired. We're going to be moving new people in there. Have fun wherever you're going to go." No, there's procedures that have to be formed. This dispute now forms under the oversight of the National Labor Relations Board that actually has a lot of authority and a lot of power to inflict a lot of pain. So maybe Apple will want to make people happy and address their concerns in a very meaningful way before everybody walks out on the day after Thanksgiving.
We should also point out that Apple has moved every job they possibly could move to low-paying countries like China, but they can't do that with retail. You have to be in the U.S. to work in a retail store. So it's just like Amazon, Starbucks. These are people who have to work in the U.S., and so Apple's trying to be as cheap as they can with these people. And any job that they could move overseas, they did. And they didn't move it to high-paying, Canada. They moved it to China and Vietnam and other places where they pay a lot less. I think I'm a little disappointed. I mean, I think Apple kind of plays very much on this notion that they are, altruistic and I don't know if hippies is the right word, but people focused. But they went out and hired anti-union lawyers from Littler Mendelsohn, who are currently working at Starbucks and have worked in the past for McDonald's to prevent unionization. They're a company, and it's okay to unionize. It's okay.
Didn't they also, Leo, try to make sure that all of the different companies like them and Google and Microsoft, that they all kind of had this insider thought of how much they were going to pay different employers so that they couldn't end up going to other companies to be able to get more. So they're not they didn't reach becoming $1 trillion company
got in trouble for that.
by being altruistic and kind to their workers and wanting to pay people the most that they can
Steve Jobs had an agreement with Google and others to not poach employees, which is a violation of antitrust law.
And to salary cap.
Yeah, they got caught. Right. And I don't know what happened, but they got caught. Did they get fined? Probably not. They get a slap on the wrist? Probably.
I just wanted to jump in and say I was at Vice Media from 2015 to 2017 when we unionized.
That's right. You were one of the early ones to do that.
Yes. I remember my first day at work was August 2015. So I was day one. Day two, my managing editor asked if I was interested in joining a union. I was like, I've literally never thought about that, but sure, why not? It was kind of interesting, and I don't know how many folks know how this process works, but we had to meet after work off-site in like the back of like a pizzeria in Brooklyn somewhere. And we all sat in a circle. And we all kind of like, so do we want to join a union? Do we want to do this? I had a serious discussion about it. And it was like, I believe 99% of people said, yeah, let's do it. And so it was just kind of scary. Like, oh, we're signing union cards. This is such a weird, and like this country just like telegraphs like, oh, a union, what is scary, what a hostile thing to do to your employer. And it was like, whatever. But we signed the cards, and about negotiations of the first contract did take about a year, as I recall. But after the contract was ratified, like we immediately all got raises, we all got back pay, we all got better leave. Like there was no negative outcome for any of the people who unionized. I don't recall Vice giving us those scary videos of like, oh, this will slow down the company. I don't recall them doing that. To be fair, I wasn't part of the negotiating committee, so I wasn't necessarily privy to all the management stuff. But just as a rank and file employee, there was literally zero downside to unionizing. So yeah, it's funny. I see those comments on like Reddit. People talk, oh, unions, they're this, they're that. They, there's like weird opinions in the U.S. about like what unions do, and like they're good for workers. I don't know why that is controversial to say.
Nicholas, do you think that it's like the company that sends out those messages?
Political.
They like.
No. In the U.S., it's political. It's totally, it's communism. It's political. Yeah. And
I still wonder if the lobbyists for these large companies are just sending out from the troll farms to because all of the workers benefit. I don't see how this could even be like Republican or Democrat because
you don't understand, Georgia.
No? Okay.
You got to understand the
I'm
Americans.
Canadian. I'm sorry.
You're Canadian.
I'm sorry.
One of the keys to the you got to understand it if you want to understand America. One of the keys to the American psyche is the Horatio Alger story. You could pull yourself up by your bootstraps with enough hard work and gumption. You could be the boss. And so there's that same feeling that I could be that billionaire. I could be that CEO. So I'm not going to make any waves for them because what I'm going to do is pull myself up and become that person. And so it's part of the mythology. And so we actually revere these companies, these bosses, these billionaires, like they're somehow, special gods that we could someday aspire to be. And we don't want to do anything. We don't want to tax them. We don't want to give them any trouble. It's okay. And I think that's starting to crack, but it's for a long time. It's been part of our mythology. And I think it's unique to America, that idea that anybody can make it here. And as a result, I don't want to pay taxes when I do. So I better make sure it's okay right now for the billionaires.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to make it there and pull it yourself up by your bootstraps when you can afford bootstraps.
Yeah. First, you need bootstraps.